So choice. I choose to be here. Therefore, I make the choice that becomes the action of what I prove when I say I choose to be here. I was looking semantically at the word choice. Choice is the noun preceded by the word choose, which is the decision, the action that precedes what I'm going to do with what I choose. I have the choice then to follow through or not. I choose to acknowledge every one of us who are here. Some of you go back many a moon with the days that I was here. I started here in 1996 after a 10-year stint in Edmonton. That was my first ministry. And when I came back from Edmonton, talk about choosing a contrast, I went to Honolulu for interim ministry. Remember Dr. Frank White? He had some health challenges, and he was the minister of the then Honolulu Church of Religious Science. And when he came back after 3 months, it was like, what are you doing? This is my territory now. And from there, I came here, thanks predominantly under the auspices of Dr. Diane Braben and Dr. Stephen Braben. They did a lot of lobbying, and indeed, my heart was here, and so here I came, and I was here for 13 years. And since then, leaving in 2009, I decided this is still my ministry. I choose to continue ministering. Where that is, how that is, what it looks like, all the details are up to that creative mind of the universe, which specializes each and every one of us. It's remarkable that something so vast, so spacious, still doesn't alter its own wholeness by being able to individualize itself to willing minds and open hearts, to the receptivity to put the action of choosing behind the choice I make. So yes, there's lots to be understood, and I believe that we are mysteries unto ourselves. And where we may choose to have a better life through a better relationship, a better home, a better means of transportation, a better sense of the lavish, the lovely, the prosperous, the abundant. Remember when we first came into metaphysics and we learned how to manage the law, manipulate the energy of creativity. So we talked about manifesting the wonderful person in our life, and then it was the wonderful place with which to live with that person, and then the prosperity. So it was princes, powerful places to live, and prosperity. But then something else happens. I love the idea of Margaret singing and Dick James speaking about going deeper, because I have a sense that, learners, I had a sense that up until now it's been, let me just put my foot in the water and find out how my life can be better, how I can be richer and more fulfilled and creatively stimulated. But now, the way that things are in the world, sorry, that just ain't good enough. There's a call for me to think beyond my self-serving, my self-preservation, and the ways that feather my nest. I've got to now give myself over to a greater idea how I can help feather the nest of peace, of unity, that unified consciousness that says, you know, when it all comes down to it, I am my brother's keeper. I am responsible, not for blame, but for the compassionate view of life that says what's going on in Ukraine and the environmental and the political, and point me to one area of life where there isn't suffering. And so based on that, it's not what are you going to do, because I am the only one to initiate healing and transformation and something new and something different that truly does lift the mind, the heart, the soul, and the lives of people, making it better for one as all, because it is the one. You know, we talk in religious science, science of mind, metaphysics generally, unity, divine science. There is one life. You could probably help finish that sentence. There's one life. That life is God. That life, I'm adding, is whole, complete, and perfect. And that life is my life now. Always has been, is now, and shall forevermore. So what am I going to give with what I've got? What are you going to give with what you've got? What is it that stirs me to such a degree that I have to do something? I have to initiate some activity. Now, at 95, sure, I could be out parading with Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, and all the rest of the gang. Those are my peeps, you know, chronologically speaking. But I can do something that's not as obvious. When you're out there carrying a poster, you know it and everybody else knows it about you. Developing consciousness is a whole other ball game, where I can come to the point of saying, if I'm not starting my day in silence, in meditation, in some form of spiritual practice that takes me out of the shallow and plunges me right into the deep by knowing not only God is right where I am, but 4 simple words. God is, I am. Would you repeat those with me? God is, I am. And you know, by making that gesture, it reminds me of the symbolism behind the cross. You know, some of you Christians, oh my God, she's not going to go there, is she? Yeah, why not? Because like everything else, if you look at the superficiality of it, the obvious, the appearance, you don't get to discover what's going on behind the eyes, beyond what you see, beyond the obvious. So the cross, that which stands vertically, is that energy of intelligence, of life, of the life force itself that extends above and beyond the ceiling, and certainly lower beyond the depths of that which is the bowels of the earth. And that which is extended horizontally is what am I going to do with what I got? So we are the cross. We are the symbol for spouting a lot of very fancy words or declaring, I am not what I am, and I'm going to show myself and the world. Okay, so September 11th was the day I chose to get hit by a car of last year, 2022. And a funny thing happened. I was calm, laying there on the ground. When I get emotional, talk among yourselves, I need a swig. What do you remember from what I've said so far? You got it. God is, I am. I was calm. And to this day, you know, a lot of the saving grace of knowing there is an infinite power and presence It does work for good for each and every one of us, pertaining specifically to the environment, the situation, and the position I find myself and place myself in its vastness, in its universality. And yet, if I ignore consciously its existence and the ultimate reality that it's true, how could I step off a curb, obeying the crosswalk sign, and the lady who was ready to make a right turn in my direction never looked? She looked to the left, I stepped down, she proceeded forward. Get the picture? And yet I was calm. I looked up, lying on the ground, and people all around. But the saving grace is that something we know and fully acknowledge consistently through meditation, prayer, mindfulness, and the decency and humanity with which we deal with ourselves and with life was the thing that kind of caused me to be taken literally to another place, which ended up in a hospital and in rehab over the course of over a month, and then to this beautiful senior assisted living that's right down the street from where I live. Must give it a plug, Veronita. And so, to this day, this is where I've been, allowing myself to be lavishly fed, and the house that apartment, that I'm in, being cleaned and the laundry done, and yet I choose to return to my home. And I therefore make the choice to do the steps and take the action that takes me there. I can't just say, oh, I choose to envision and to have an image of what it's like to be there. I've got to do it. I've got to give notice. I've got to give my last check payment. I've got to again enroll the assistance of the three most beautiful people on this planet, my kids, who moved me there, and now it's like, hello, kids, now you're going to move me to return. And yet we've all stepped up, because when life has its way of pausing and showing us with patience the possibilities of what can happen, I have to be the embodiment of that. And in my case, it's not always easy to ask for help. Well, fortunately, I was in no condition. I didn't have to ask. It was obvious. And yet in this place has been such an incredible learning. And I hope even beyond what everyone thought it was like for them, because I've been teaching a mindful meditation class there. And so, yeah, since December, that's what I've been doing every Monday, tomorrow, 1:30. And the amazing thing is how many people have either forsaken the concept of the invisible power that lives within, or they've just never been exposed to it. Everybody's clueless. So it's like, what an experience for me to keep it simple. It's like, okay, I can't go launching onto that which is the universal presence and power is a creative intelligence, and you know it's a law unto yourself, and you know that this creative intelligence responds by corresponding. They would laugh me out of the place. So the simplicity with which I can say you can be better, it's a very fascinating thing. There are very many, predominantly males than females at this place. Oh my goodness. Not too shabby, no, trust me. And a lot of them have this disease labeled and named Parkinson's. And it seems with that, there's a lowering of the voice, because apparently the vocal cords are affected. And therefore, these people, whether they are men or women, they come from amazing backgrounds. There's a geologist who has lived and worked all over the world, and he speaks so quietly. And particularly at dinner, which is, other than my class, my only means of socialization, because I'm not quite into bingo and card games. And that's fine. I'm not. But I'm there, and boy, at dinner, it's like that creative intelligence says, okay, how can I turn this conversation in a little bit of a different direction? So we're not talking about your most recent visit to the doctor. I know, I've had my own. I'm still having them. And yet, that doesn't have to define who I am. I can choose to define myself as something invisible that is highly energetic, intelligent, wise, and loving enough to have given me that seed of possibility, that which lies dormant unless I quicken to its presence and awaken myself to say, I can utilize this. I don't care if I'm 60, 70, 80, 90, or 100. I can still exude more energy, more strength, more vitality, more clarity, more wisdom, more intelligence than I'm presently doing. And so that's why I'm there. And that's why, ideally, I want to still teach that class. And so I will see if that's possible, because I don't believe very much in letting no be the way it is. And so in Yiddish, you know, the expression, along with the one you're like, chutzpah, you gotta have a little chutzpah, a little backbone, a little balls, if you will. Because otherwise, it's very easily possible to become very passive to the process of aging. And we're not prone to that old myth any longer. We are open to establishing a new criteria for how to be 95, and I'm not the only ones. There are people who are living far beyond that and still independent thinkers and possibility personalities that are not shaped by the human person, but by the divine essence. So I have no idea about the time, and honestly, I don't give it. Because if you and I have a voice, it is meant to be heard. Some of it is sung, some of it is played, some of it is that which leads consistently. And that's why I so honor each and every one of you. You have been, I know from those that I am familiar with and those I'm not, that you are doing your best, but I still leave you with this possibility. It still isn't good enough. There's more. And use it to enlist and engage yourself in knowing and in choosing and making the choice to act upon what you know. I've learned a few things in 95 years. Oh, mazel tov, thank God. And one of them is that my desire is truly fed by something that when it's conviction and when there's deep authenticity and integrity about it, there is something that supports that. This universe has a back, a front, a sides, our ribs, and our pelvis, and all the things like that. Cracked up know how to return to the pattern of wholeness that has always been there, is there now, and shall forevermore. So take the life. Here's to life. Here's to the deepest and richest gift, and the power of choice, and the power to think, and the power to consciously be who you have come here to be. I know that's the purpose for all of us. Stay in the moment. I'm not the person or the body, well, not too shabby, that I was 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, but damn it, it's still the living temple of God. And with everything we do to treat it with the respect, honor, and love it deserves, then do that. Do what is yours to do. So with that in mind, I give thanks for the one life, the one presence, the one power that is forever doing its wondrous work through and by means of me, through and by means of you, and through and by means of this community. I love it dearly. Always have, always will, and that's the way it really is.